Such a lovely day here in Sydney at the moment, beautiful and sunny. So I wanted to record this video outside, but unfortunately it's windy as hell and we couldn't hear anything on the microphones, so we're stuck here in the lab. I had all this Jamaican music teed up. I was going to be relaxing in the sun. We're going to get the reggae still in there though, promise you. This video today is about research, particularly what it takes to become a researcher. And we wanted to tell a story where we look at undergrads who are beginning their research journey, picking units that relate to research, trace through masters and their experience, and then look at career researchers, except we're going to do it a little bit Tarantino style. We're going to start at the end. So recently, Western Sydney University held Research Week. This is where they highlight all the research that's happening across the university, and as usual, Blab was there to cover it. So we're going to start with that story, and then we're going to look at, if you're a student, if you're an undergrad student, how do you start your research journey? So we're going to take a look at some undergrad units that Western Sydney University offers and look at the research that those students are doing, and then progress to master's students and look at some of the research they're doing and try and map out this trajectory of how you begin a career in research. Enjoy the video.
So I'm walking to the research impact competition right now. So this is a competition like the 3-minute thesis. So the 3-minute thesis is where a PhD student might hop up and they'll talk about what their PhD thesis is all about, but they've only got 3 minutes to do it. Quite a hard task, right? This research impact competition is kind of the same thing, but instead of being for PhD students, it's for academics. And I think they get 4 minutes to talk. So this is actually the finals we're heading to now in Research Week. We're going to be seeing the finalists, the academic finalists, telling us what their research is all about. It should be an amazing event.
Where do you find Hamid? You always find him at the food.
So I've arrived now. We're just prepping and eating lunch before we see the research development showcase. But we've been wanting to do this episode on Blab for a while, where we discuss women in STEM and why the need for diversity, and we've been trying to get some people on to put together to the episode. And one of the people we wanted to get on was Professor Cordelia Fine from University of Melbourne. Now, she actually presented on encouraging women in STEM this morning in Research Week. And this is good because this is like what, you know, this is a career researcher. This is someone who's really prestigious in her field, and this is like the pinnacle of where you want to be at with your research, right? So, what was it like, man? What was it like? Tell us.
Well, first, the food is delicious, by the way. Oh
Any vegan products?
Yeah.
Damn.
Just
Anyway.
vegetables. Yeah. Anyway, so what I was thinking for this episode was that we're going to lay out these arguments, some economic arguments, productivity, business arguments for why it's important to have women in STEM and in fields where it's heavily dominated by men, right?
Yeah.
And she was making the argument that actually those arguments all undermine women. They confirm the status quo, right? They put the onus on women having to prove their self-worth or their worth to prove that they deserve to be in executive positions, to be in fields where it's heavily dominated by men. And she said that a better argument is one of social justice, right? We should appeal to people's sense of social justice, that it's fair that women are represented in these fields, right?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
unfair to keep them out. If you just harp on ethical reasons, it might just fall onto deaf ears.
Yeah.
But if you harp on the business reasons, then you've kind of like
Undermine.
undermined yourself
Yeah.
totally, because there might not be any business advantages, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't do it.
The way we support our academics.
My research.
Endometriosis is estimated.
Sexual or fantasy material was being used as a way.
So the Research Impact Competition is a competition across Western Sydney University where academics from lots of different schools get to compete in a competition that's very similar to the 3-minute thesis. This year, 2019, there were speakers from across 9 schools on topics such as the media, fake news, how to combat bullying, artificial intelligence, how to treat endometriosis with cannabis, and even how to take better poos.
Each of these things may need. You see, what was happening is that every single person that did a study on bullying at this time was using a different measure. And these measures weren't good measures, they were more like hospital surveys. They were about, have you been bullied? Yes or no? We knew, as that picture says, that bullying's a lot more complicated than that.
Each speaker is given 5 minutes to present, and they're only allowed one PowerPoint slide over that time. So as you can imagine, it's pretty hard to encapsulate your research in such a short amount of time. Doesn't leave much room for errors and ums and ahs. After the competition, the winners of the People's Choice Award and the overall winner were announced by the Vice Chancellor, and there was a networking session. We got to chat with a lot of the researchers. It was a great time.
And Raj as judges, all we can say is you made it extraordinarily difficult for us to determine how could you come up with just 3 at the top of the list, and the People's Choice Award was very, very difficult.
Blabcoats also performed a live podcast from the Research Impact Competition.
No, but he reads it.
Lovely dress.
Oh, thank you.
Hamid and Ingwa got up on stage and they did an interview with Mike Armour and Hadesha Atre on endometriosis.
It's just normal.
That full episode you can actually check out at blabcoats.com. It's episode 6.2.
Thank you all very much for all the activity.
So in the 3rd year of their undergrad, Western Sydney University science students had the opportunity to do a unit called Scientific Research Project. So this is like wets their whistle for research and kind of gears them up to what it's like to run a research project over the course of a whole semester. And like the Master of Research, they're going to be presenting their posters today. So we're going to go and have a talk to a few of them.
What up, guys? I'm here with the one and only Axel, who I don't know last name.
Steigler Peters. What? Steigler Peters.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't gonna guess that. Anyway, what was the questions, Alex? Yeah, why are you interested in research, Axel?
Oh, okay. At the start of my 3rd year, I actually did advanced cell bio with Mark, and it really kind of like ignited a fire in interest in muscle cells. So I started working on myoblast cells in that class, and I just gained an interest from there, and that kind of eventuated into looking at tissue engineering, because that was a content part of that unit, and I really developed an interest from there, and then that led into potential research. And yeah, here I am doing science research project, working with Mark using hyperspectral analysis. And yeah, really enjoying it. Keeps my brain active, keeps me stimulated.
And keeps you stressed.
Oh yeah, can't forget the stress. That's good fun. Keeps you on your toes.
So what do you want to do when you grow up, Axel?
Well, I thought I was grown up, but tissue engineering is pretty much the end goal, but how I get there, I don't know. For the moment, I'm just really enjoying researching about the changes and differences between differentiated and undifferentiated muscle cells, or learning all about muscle cells in general. It really seems to catch my interest.
Can I convince you to do regenerative medicine or tissue engineering through the lens of bioelectricity?
Oh yeah, that's pretty interesting actually. That sounds alright.
Talk to me afterwards. I'll be your co-supervisor.
Alright, sounds good.
That's it from us, guys.
Thank you, Axel.
Thanks.
Say hi, guys.
Here with Gabrielle. Gabrielle, just why don't you give us a quick introduction and tell us what your research is on?
Alright, well, I'm Gabrielle and my research is on the fluorescent properties of canola-derived glucosinolates exposed to UV light and live T cells. So a lot of fluorescence work, pretty much. I picked this unit because I'm interested in the Masters of Research and I wanted to get a feel for what it was like, just to make sure like I know what I'm doing before I commit.
That's cool. So you're interested in doing a Master of Research after you do your undergrad. Why are you interested in research?
Simply because I'm a curious person and I ask a million questions and I always want to find the answer to them, which is why I'm here now.
Yeah, awesome. That's probably why I'm interested in research too. It's the best reason, I reckon. Okay, so let's like fast forward to the future a little bit. You've done your undergrad. You'll finish your Master of Research. Like, what's next? What do you want to do after? Say you want to do your Master of Research next. What are you going to do after that?
Oh, wow. Well, look, I've considered a PhD before, but I'm not too sure yet. I thought of maybe taking a break, finding a job somewhere for a bit, and then coming back and doing some PhD work. I'm not sure yet, but I'll just take it as it comes.
Smart man. Cheers, dude.
Oh, against myself. Right, I'll take out my former self. Yeah.
That's how you do it. You keep just chopping your former self down and constructing a newer self.
Yeah, and I'll become a better presenter by the end of it, I hope.
You're already doing so well here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So Jelena was a former student.
I was, yes, in metabolism.
Did you like my classes?
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought you were going to be nice about this. Anyway, Jelena, tell us why did you do science research project?
Well, so I'm planning on doing a Master of Philosophy next year, and I've been really torn between a couple of different fields of science. So I guess I wanted to really explore astronomy in particular. And science research project really allowed me to delve into any field of science I wanted to, with a lot of freedom of the project that I could do. So last year I started a summer research project, which ended up unfortunately not working. So we sort of redid the project, and the resulting is what you see here in front of you.
So what is this poster about? If you could sum it up in 3 seconds.
3 seconds. Okay, looking for galaxies that formed when the universe was really, really young.
Okay, I'm actually really impressed by that. I thought she's gonna stumble and go, ah, ah. Oh shit, okay. What's the plan after this? So you said MPhil, potentially.
Yep.
Have you considered the MRes?
I have. I think that I am more of a practical learner. I really like getting in there and doing it myself. And I have formed, I guess, a close connection with a supervisor who is very keen to have me in and just doing some practical work. I think that's really where I flourish the most and where I like to learn. And it's also, so what I plan to do is MRI contrast agents in the future. And so there's not really heaps of units in the MRes that allow me to do that. So my plan is to sort of try to do the MPhil research as much as I can, learn about it, effectively still studying for the first year, but in a different way. Yeah.
What's the plan after all this?
After all this?
When you grow up, what do you want to be?
Oh, good question. Honestly, I haven't quite decided yet. I love research, so I would like to be a researcher of some kind. And
do you want to be an employed researcher?
Oh, yes, please. If anybody does want to hire me, please give me a call. ASAP.
So a few years ago, Western Sydney Uni stopped offering honours courses after their undergraduate degrees. Usually if you wanted to get into research after your undergraduate degree, you had to first do an honours year and write a thesis. But a lot of unis are starting to move away from that. So recently, Western Sydney University created the Master of Research program. This is a multidisciplinary degree where people basically learn what it means to be a researcher, what it takes to be a researcher, and about research culture. And today, the Master of Research students are presenting all their poster presentations that they've been working on throughout the whole year. So Hinghua, Hamid and I thought that we'd go and talk to a few of them and ask why they chose to do a Master of Research, what they expect to do when they finish, and why they want to be a researcher.
So my name's Sarah Fletcher and I am working in the School of Science and Health, and my whole project is based around the fluorescence of canola in response to drought and soil stress. And I'm focusing on the blue fluorescent region because there are secondary metabolites which change really quickly in that region. So, yeah.
May I ask, why do you choose the degree of Master of Research?
I chose it because it was a stepping stone towards a PhD, basically. And I thought it would be really exciting to get a taste for research before I tried to progress.
Okay. So that comes to the next question. What do you want to do right after this degree?
I'm going to go straight into PhD if next year works out nicely, because I still have to do my thesis. We'll see how that goes.
So no break at all?
No break. I took a gap year before I went into university for my undergrad, so I think that was enough for me.
Why do you like research, Sarah?
I like it because you've got freedom to explore different ideas. Like, there's not a rigid outline for what you have to study, basically. And because if you have good supervisors, then they'll encourage you to explore things and they won't tell you exactly what you're meant to be doing.
So my name is Rashmi and I'm doing a Master of Research, and so I'm just coming to the end of my first year of the MRes, and so my project will be on basically a qualitative research design study on the help-seeking experiences of women with the female sexual disorder vaginismus, and how that help-seeking constructs their sense of self. So that'll be my project next year. It'll be qualitative and utilize the feminist theoretical framework as well.
Wow, it's really great to say somebody is going to do a qualitative research. And also, may I ask, why do you choose Master Research in the first place?
Well, I think I always knew that I wanted to go into research. I wanted to be able to learn the skills and develop the knowledge of how to generate new research that would address, epistemological gaps and contribute some sort of insight. And I thought the Master of Research would be a great way to kind of bridge that gap between, doing an undergraduate degree and then, hopefully a PhD eventually, because it allows you to do kind of an extended thesis project to kind of effectively prepare you for, the skills and the writing and the knowledge, basically. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds great. So, what's your plan after this degree?
So hopefully, if everything goes well, I'd like to do a PhD, and then hopefully go into academia and definitely work in the field of female sexual health, because I think it's a really underrepresented area even in research. So that will be my goals, hopefully.
Well, here's a man who needs no introduction. It's Drew, Blabcode's star himself. Drew, why don't you just tell us really quickly what your project's on for the MRes?
Sure, so my project's looking at DNA methylation using an assay called HELP, and in particular we use a new type of sequencing called nanopore, which is really exciting. Really exciting DNA sequencing technique.
Drew's going to have to do an episode on nanopore sequencing later, but this episode today is about why people choose research careers and why they want to do it. So let me ask you, Drew, you're doing the MRes now at Western Sydney. We just heard what that is before, but why pick the MRes?
Well, I think it's sort of a natural progression, along with the lack of honours programs being available recently and the prominence of MRes in progressing a research career. MRes also seems to be just a better degree in general. So the first year has some coursework to help set up my research skills, and the second year is an actual thesis, which is doing my actual own research. So I think MRes is just better degree in general, and yeah, I think it's just the next step as well.
Yeah, cool. So you did the MRes because you wanted to be a researcher. So the next logical question is, why the hell do you want to be a researcher?
Well, research, it's appealing. You're generating new knowledge, you're learning new things about the world. I've always been really curious about the world, learning how it works. And research fundamentally is that, though it's a lot more complex than just some facts here and there. It's a lot of methods, there's a lot of methodology, there's a lot to it. But I want to contribute something, have my name attached to a paper, to some piece of knowledge I contributed for the rest of time,
That's awesome.
Yeah, like a permanent thing. that's there.
That's really good. And one last question. What do you want to be when you grow up? In other words, what do you want to do when you finish the MRes?
Well, when I want to finish MRes, I would like to do a PhD. I think PhD will be the next step for a full research career. Whether I take a break between it, I don't know. Kind of depends how I'm feeling. But definitely next step PhD. I'd love to do something overseas if I ever get this opportunity. Something here, but yeah, I want to keep focusing on genomes. Gene editing is something I'd really like to get into. Learning how to use gene editing. But yeah.
Awesome. Cheers, Drew. Have fun.
Yeah, what MRes students and undergrad students, what they don't realize is there's going to be a lot of moments of stupidity. You're going to feel real stupid most of the time. And I think it's important to embrace that feeling because you're in the world of the unknown.
I think I would say it from a more positive way. So when you finish your, now you wouldn't be able to say what a finished research looks like. But I think research, as projects, they have kind of finish line. You can do this, you can finish this. And once you finish, you will notice that no impact is too small.
My positive and negative is you're going to be your own boss a lot. Yeah? So you have to be very self-motivated. So sometimes that can be a negative, right? If people aren't really prepared for that, it can be hard to be driven to produce the work, and you can get very stressed last minute if that's you. Then it can also be a positive, right? Because you can manage your time and be flexible.
The best thing about being a researcher is that you learn that you can teach yourself anything, and that's a skill that you can take to any job. Yeah, good luck.
Sign us off.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.
Subscribe to Blab Coats.
Have fun in metabolism if you ever do it.
Subscribe to Blab Coats. Tell them.
Subscribe to Blab Coats. You won't regret it, I promise.